it's me, Margaret, and this is the lemon peel hat, so named for the stitch that's used to create the body of this hat. Now, this stitch also goes by many other names, including but not limited to the seed stitch, the wobble stitch, the griddle stitch, and the drunken granny. But viewer Brenda introduced me to the lemon peel name, and look, its busy texture does faintly remind me of a real lemon peel, so we're going with that. The concept is simple. It's merely a basic beanie, and it alternates between a double crochet and a single crochet, but the increase rounds can present quite a challenge, and because of that I would not recommend this hat to a beginner. If you've never made a hat before, then look in the description box below for a link for a much better choice for your first attempt. Now, this tutorial assumes you know the slip stitch, the single crochet, the double crochet, and that you know how to sew in all the ends and that basic jazz, and that you understand basic top-down hat construction, though I will walk you through that process. And as a result, you can make this hat using this tutorial in any size you want. Now, I love this busy texture in contrast to the smooth camel stitch brim, and I hope you will too. So let's get started. Now, we won't be putting a seam in this hat, so you will need a stitch marker, which is very important. I am using a number 4 worsted and an H or a 5mm hook. And even though I'm using a 5mm hook, you could use whatever hook you wanted to, because we size these hats not by gauge, but by the measurement of the flat circle diameter. So you'll need a hat sizing chart to do that, and I'll leave a link to this one in the description box below. So feel free to use what you're comfortable with. For every top-down hat, we start with stitches in a circle. Now, you can do this any method you are comfortable with, like the magic circle or whatever. I use something I call the simple start. I use this start for every project, whether it's a circle or not. I lay my yarn on top of the hook and hold it in place, and then I take this tail and wrap it around the working yarn and hold it against the hook, and then I chain 2. 1 and 2. So if I were doing a flat project, I would keep going. I'm doing a circle project, so I'm going to be crocheting into that very first stitch, and it acts exactly like a magic circle. So what we need to start with is 10 single crochet. So we'll insert our hook into that first circle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's our first one. And repeat that 10 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you'll see how my circle is growing, and you just grab on the tail and close it just as you would for magic circle. 8, 9, and then here's our last one, 10. Always count your stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's the 10th right there. Now remember, we're not joining, so we're going to continue round 2 by starting right here in that stitch. So what do we do for round 2? I'm going to use these as visual aids. They're actually files that I use to explain the hat sizing process, the hat construction process. But this is what we've done so far. Now, of course, these are skinnier than single crochet, but use your imagination. We have 10 stitches into the circle. So for round 2, since we always increase the subsequent rounds by the number we started with, so we've got to get 20 in this row. We had 10, we got to increase by 10, so we'll have to have 20, and the only way to do that is to put 2 in every stitch all the way around. So for the lemon peel hat, we have to alternate the double crochet and single crochet. So this row's pretty easy. We're going to start with 1 double crochet right here, and then we're going to put the single crochet right next to it. And we're going to do that all the way around. So just like this, double crochet, single crochet, like this, all the way around. So that looks like this. Yarn over, insert into that first stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through the last 2. That's your first double crochet. And then in the base of that same stitch, put that single. single crochet right there. So you have a double crochet and a single crochet in that same first stitch. And I'm going to use a stitch marker right now to mark the first one. That's that double crochet. Double crochet, single crochet. I'm marking the double. That's our first stitch. And we're going to continue that pattern all the way around. We double, and then we single in the same stitch. Double crochet and single crochet all the way around. I'll meet you back. Coming up on my last stitch of this round, there's the double crochet followed by the single right beside it in the same stitch. All right, we've completed round 2. So for round 3, again, every subsequent round has to increase by the starting number. So we started out with 10, we just did 20, so this row has to have 30. And the way we do that is we do 3 stitches 10 times. Now because we're constantly alternating as we go round and round, you're going to see that we ended with a single crochet here. So our first stitch of this round needs to be a double crochet. Then we do a single crochet, and then one by itself is going to be a double crochet. But hang on, this is an odd number, so this isn't going to be as cut and dry. So here are all the stitches that I've drawn in here. We go double and single in the same stitch, then a double crochet by itself. So now we're alternating, right? So this stitch right here is going to have to be a single crochet with a double crochet in the same stitch, and then a single crochet by itself. So while it looks a little confusing on paper, it really isn't once you get going. Okay, let's put it into practice. So just checking our work, we left off with a single crochet, so it stands to reason the double crochet would start us off on this round. We have to put 2 in this stitch and 1 in this stitch. All right, so that's double crochet, and then single right there in the same stitch, and double by itself. 1, 2. All right, so we completed those first 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Let's mark that first one so we'll know when to stop when we get back around with our continuous rounds. Okay, I just got interrupted by a phone call, but it doesn't matter because I can see where I left off. I've done 3 stitches. I left off with a double crochet, so the next one will be single crochet, double crochet, single by itself. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just constantly alternating doubles and singles, but I'm still increasing the same way. This is a series of 3 stitches, so that's single, double, and then single by itself. Okay, I have to do 3 stitches in these 2. So I finished with a single, I'm doing a double. Double crochet, single crochet in the same stitch, and double by itself. Can you hear a little rhythm I got going there? Alright, so we finished that one, so we're going to do single crochet, double crochet into the same stitch, whoops, and then we do the single by itself, and then double first, single in the same stitch, and a double by itself right there. And don't hesitate to pull or stretch your yarn so you can make sure you're putting it in the right stitches. Okay, so we need a single first, then the double in the same stitch, and then we put the single by itself. Then we start with the double, followed by the single. I usually don't carry you through an entire row. I hope this isn't too boring, but this is a bit tricky. And I want to make sure everybody understands. All right, finished with the double, so we start with the single, single, double in the same stitch, and the single by itself. So we'll start with the double now. Add the single by it with it, and then the double by itself. And look, we're coming up on those last 2 stitches. We still have to fit 3 stitches in the 2 stitches. So there's a double. Start with a single. Then the double for its partner there, and we will end with a single. Ta-da! Can you see the texture forming? Alright, so we should have, if we count our stitches, we should have had 30 right here. So count your stitches to make sure. Now we got to put 40 in the next row because we always increase by the starting number. And because we're on the 4th row, we're going to do 4 stitches. But we only do them into 3 stitches from below. So 2 of the first stitch, 2 by themselves equals 4 stitches. So let's check our work. We left off with a single crochet right here. So that means we're going to pick up with a double. Double crochet, single crochet, and then we do a double by itself and then a single by itself. You know what? Even rows are so much easier because it just repeats within its own little set. Whereas our odd number rows, we had to repeat the 3 and then we change the order. So this is very simple. Double crochet, single crochet, double by itself, single by itself. See how easy that is? So we put it into practice. We remove that stitch marker. Ended with a single. So we're going to start with the double. Double crochet, single crochet in the same stitch because we're increasing still. And then we have a double by itself. You know what? Let's go back and look at that. Look, do you see where these stitches are planted? Right there. So make sure you're moving into the next stitch to put your double by itself. Be very careful where your placement is or you're going to throw your counts off. And then we do a single by itself. Okay, now we did 4, so let's replace our stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mark our first stitch. Okay, so continuing on with round 4, which is so easy. So in this stitch we're going to be doing the increase. So double crochet, single crochet in the same stitch, and then a double by itself, and then a single by itself. So this is an easy round, so you can go ahead and complete that by yourself. So there it is, row 4 already done. Even rows are so easy. Okay, now we got to move into row 5. But before we do, let's double check to see what is the last stitch we did. It was a single crochet. So you'll remember what the pattern is. We have to do 5 stitches 10 times to get 50 stitches. And the pattern for those 5 stitches is 2 in the first and 3 by themselves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I made us another sheet where we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. These bright yellows are the row below, and this is what we need to create. So again, we checked our work. We left off with a single crochet, so we're going to start with a double crochet here. So our pattern this time will be double crochet, I can't speak, double crochet, single crochet in the first stitch, followed by the double crochet on its own, single crochet on its own, double crochet on its own. Then we're going to flip this, okay? We ended with a double crochet, so we have to start with let's move it up here, with a single crochet, and then follow that with a double crochet in the same stitch. And then we do single crochet, double crochet, single crochet on their own. So we're repeating a group of 5 twice in order to get the entire repeat in the way we want to do it. Start with a double here, start with a single here. So we take our stitch marker out and we're starting with the double because we can clearly see the singles there. So double followed by a single in the same stitch, and then keep alternating. Double, single, all these are by themselves, and double. Now we're on row 5. We should complete 5 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's where we put the stitch marker. Count backwards 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we just ended with the double, so we're going to start here with the single. So single and double in the same stitch, followed by the single by itself and a double by itself, and then a single by itself. Being careful to make sure that you're planting all your stitches in the right place. I think you're catching on at this point, so I'll meet you back around for row 6. Okay, that round is done. Yay! All right, so now we'll move it on to an even row, which is row 6. So that means we're going to be doing 6 stitches 10 times to get 60 stitches on this row. And even rows are very easy, so we always see where we left off, which is a single crochet. So this has to be a double, single, double, single, double, single. And then this gets repeated over and over and over. So just start with the double, do your increase with the single, and then it goes double, single, and then do it again all the way around. So not that you really need me here, but we'll do it anyway. We'll start with the double and then put a single in the same stitch for the increase, and then by themselves you have a double, a single, a double, and a single. Row 6, 6 stitches 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Replace your stitch marker. So you'll continue this pattern all the way around. Double, single for your increase, double, single, do it again. Double, single for your increase, double, single, all the way around. Meet you back. All right, so here we are. We finished round 6, and it just occurred to me. I thought, I wonder how big this is. Let's see if we're getting close to what we want to make. So I'm measuring it, and across the flat circle diameter I'm getting 4.5 inches. So with your handy dandy crochet chart, and anyone will do, mine is a very basic one, I'm using this chart, and I think I might like to make one for a 1 to 3 year old, so I'll need a flat circle diameter of 5.5 inches. Well, I'm only at 4.5 inches right now, so that means I have to continue to increase. So this would fit a 6 to 12 month old if I were to stop at this point. All right, so we're going to keep going till we get to 5.5 inches. Now, I've run out of these handy dandy visual aids that I used in that hat sizing video, but that's okay, because now's a great time for you to make your own chart, because you may want to make, say, an adult hat or something with this. So, round 7, go ahead and draw yourself a circle. And you know that for round 7, we have to make 70 stitches. So that's a pattern of 7 stitches 10 times. We always start with that decrease for right now. Increase for right now. So we put 2 in one stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And because this is an odd number row, let's go ahead and do another set. 1, 2 in the same stitch. See, those are in the same stitch. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you can write out what you need to do if you need a visual reference. So you finished with a single crochet on row 6, so we'll start with a double crochet on row 7, and then we'll do a single crochet partner in the same stitch. And then it's a double, a single, a double, a single, and a double. Then we have to flip that. We have to do the opposite right here. We ended with a double, so we start with a single, and then we put a double next to it in the same stitch. And then single, double, single, double, single. So now you've made your own visual reference. So we pick that work up. We're going to do row 7. Move that stitch marker. We finished with a single crochet. Let's begin with a double, double, and then single in the same stitch, and then we go. So that's 2. Double is number 3, single is number 4, double is number 5, single is number 6, and double is number 7. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Replace your stitch marker. And just to be on the safe side, let's check our work. Did we end? Let's see, we're going to cover up the second round. We ended with a double. So did we? Yes, we did. All right, so good for us. So now let's do that second round. That second group in the round, which would be starting with a single. Single, double. That's 2 stitches. Single in the 3rd, double in the 4th. Single in the 5th, double in the 6th. Single in the 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, there's that double stitch right there. So we did our 7 stitches. So we'll repeat those 14 just like that. And count like that. You say it out loud if you have to. There's no shame in that. We're going to double, say exactly what you're doing, and single in the same stitch. That's 2 stitches. So double for the 3rd, single for the 4th, double for the 5th, single for the 6th. Is that the right place? Yeah. Double for the 7th. Okay, that's good for us. Now let's keep going. So once you get your head around it, it's not that difficult. The concept is not difficult. It's just a matter of keeping up with where you are. So I'll meet you back around. Okay, so I finished round 7, and I'm going to measure. All right, right there. I'm almost at 5.5, and 5.5 was the goal I was shooting for, because I wanted to do a 1 to 3-year-old, recommended flat circle diameter, 5.5. It's not quite there, but you know what? Crochet stretches, so it's great. I'm ready to stop my increases, but you may not be. You might want to continue on. So you're going to make another little notation here if you need to. Round 8, draw your circle and put your stitches in. So you'll increase on the first one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then write it out. You ended with a single crochet, so you'll start with a double. Single crochet, and then double, single, double, single, double, single. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You repeat that all the way around for a total of 80 stitches. And you continue doing what we've learned here as we build this circle. Okay, and then once you measure your flat circle diameter and you've got it where you need it to be, then pick up at this point in the video. And as usual, I'll include the timestamps in the description box below. Whew. All right, I'm glad those increases are done. That's the trickiest part of the whole hat. The body of the hat's easy. The only thing you need to remember is to stack a single crochet on top of a double crochet and vice versa, like this. If you're coming along on this row and you have a double crochet, you'll need to put a single crochet on top of it. If you got a single, you put a double crochet on top of it. That's it. That's all you have to remember. Now first, let's remember that we have an even number of stitches. No matter how big you made your hat, you should have a multiple of 10 for your stitches, right? Okay, well, let's look at something just a minute. If we're alternating with an even number of stitches, in this case 6, just to show you, we'll go double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, and then we need to go again, right? What comes next after single crochet? Well, double does, but we can't put a double here because there's already a double here, and we know we have to alternate, right? So if we change it to an odd number, then we have the double crochet, the single, the double, the single, the double, and then the single, the double, and we never have to think about it again. What a treat to sit and watch TV with no counting, no nothing. You just go until it reaches the proper measurement. So when do we change the stitch count to an odd number? Well, that happens right after you finish the first round of the body of the hat. And that's what I've done here. I've done a double and a single and a single and a double all the way around, being very careful to make sure I don't put 2 singles together or 2 doubles together. And then when I get here, I've got 2 stitches left, and I'm just going to crochet 2 together. Now, I finished with a double, so I'm going to do a single crochet 2 together right here. And there may be more than one way to do it. This is the way I do it. I insert into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, insert into the second stitch, yarn over, pull through. Then I yarn over and pull through everything. And that gives me 2 together, and I have reduced the entire project by 1 stitch. We're now odd numbers, and so we should be able to go all the way around easily. If you're comfortable with that, skip ahead to the next chapter. Look in the description box below for timestamps. If you're not used to reading your stitches very well, then stay tuned and let's look at this real quick. Here is a single and a double, and memorize what they look like. The single is like a little V, 2 legs sticking in the stitch below with a hat on top. And the double looks kind of like a jumble with the hat on top. You see it? It's fatter and has lots going on, and the single doesn't. So this is how you'll constantly keep a check to make sure that you're doing the right stitch in the correct stitch below. So that was a single, so I'll put a double. Here's a double, so I'll put a single. It's as easy as that. So how long do you make the body of the hat? So here's the hat I did before. Body of the hat is here, brim is here. Now in this case, on this little hat, the brim is, let's call it 2 inches. So we'll continue doing this lemon peel stitch until we get ready to put on our brim. And how do we know when that is? Well, you're going to need your handy dandy crochet chart and look up what your hat height is. So I was working on this 1 to 3 year old size, so my hat height is 6.5 inches. So since I want to stop 2 inches before that so that I can put on the brim, I'll need to subtract 2 inches from the total hat height. So I'll stop at 4.5 inches. Where will you stop? If you're working on this, the adult, small, medium, total is 8.5, so you subtract 2 for your brim. And that'll give you 6.5 inches of lemon peel stitch. And just as a reminder, the way you measure that is you start up here at the crown where you began the crown and put your measuring tape right there, and then press it down until you get to this point right here. And that's how you know, measuring crown to brim, what your total hat height would be. So go put your feet up and do lemon peel stitch until you get to 2 inches before your desired hat height. Okay, I'm back and I've worked my 4.5 inches of the lemon peel stitch. So now it's time for the brim. So the brim we're going to use is a camel stitch brim. So that requires us to lay down a foundation row of half double crochet. So remembering that a half double crochet is a yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. And then because we're still working in continuous rounds, we're going to mark that first stitch. So go all the way around, putting a half double crochet in every stitch around. So I've got my half double crochet foundation row down. I'm going to remove that stitch marker for a second. And now we're doing the camel stitch. If you know what that is, the half double crochet in the 3rd loop is another name for it. But if you don't, here's how to find that loop. Here's your regular 2 loops, your front loop and your back loop. And if you just roll it down, you'll see a whole nother line back there of loops. See it? Those are the ones we're going into. So again, you'll see a regular set of loops that we always go into, right? The front loop and the back loop. We're going to roll it forward and get that one right in the back. So we're just going to half double crochet again in that loop instead of the regular loop. Let me show you. Yarn over. Okay, be sure you're in the right place. That's the last stitch. So we're looking at this one right here. So flip it forward and there's that 3rd loop. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's your first camel stitch. So let's mark it. And notice what's happening. Do you see how it forced that top loop to come forward? And that's exactly what we want to happen. See it right there? How they're laying down, like it looks like knitting, but they're actually forced to the front. So what we're going to do is just continue to make half double crochets in that 3rd loop until we have reached approximately 2 inches. And don't get so wound up about making it perfectly 2 inches. It doesn't have to be perfect. It needs to be somewhere close to 2 inches on either side of 2 inches. So go ahead and do that. And when you have completed that, meet me back and I'll show you how to finish this hat off. Alright, I completed my 2 inches and I cheated with the stitch marker. I just left it right there and kept going. I can tell that's where I needed to stop. Now, do you see how the camel stitch tends to have a gap right here because it really needs something to force it forward? So what we're going to do from this point on is single crochet in that back loop. The small single crochet is going to force the last row of camel stitch forward, which gives it a touch more finishing, if you know what I mean. But we're not going to go all the way around with the single crochet. We need to start tapering at some point because we've done this in a spiral. So when we get back around, we're going to have this gap like this, right? So what we need to do is ease into it with some slip stitches into this ending. So when we get here about, I don't know, 10 stitches or so, we'll switch to slip stitch and just slide it in. And it'll look something like this. You see how it kind of just blends right on in? So continue single crocheting in that 3rd loop until you have about 10 stitches left, and meet me back here. Okay, there's my last single crochet, and now I'm moving into slip stitches in that same little loop in the back. And the slip stitches are nice and short, and they are pulling that row down. And by the way, where this stitch marker is, that's what I consider the back of my hat. Okay, so you see how that kind of goes down to meet there, and then when we sew it in, we'll even pull it, that part down. So I've cut my yarn, put on the tapestry needle, and I'm sure there are many ways to do this, but my goal here is to make sure that that lays down and maybe even ducks behind the previous row a little bit. So as you flip it over, I'll go behind that third loop and then start picking up some of these back here and then test it out. Ooh, yeah, I like the way that looks. And now I'll just sew in my ends as usual. And there's the finished product. And I don't have a head that actually fits this hat, so we're pretending that's a little nose. And you can see as we go around, we have that wonderful busy texture and that nice smooth camel stitch. And here on the back, you can see where we eased it in, and it looks very nice, I think. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and you may want to check the crochet tutorial playlist to see if there's anything there that floats your boat.